Welcome to the Nielsen Ratings, our weekly roundup of films and TV shows that we want to recommend you, old and new. So there's a bit of both this evening. Got a great panel of guests. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. As you can hear from my voice, I am still fighting off the lurgy. I'm not 100%. Fortunately, my medical team is on hand in form of the inside man, who's ready with the electro thing.
Yeah. I've got all the electrodes ready. Yeah, and all the other bits and pieces. Yeah, that I can insert wherever they need to be inserted.
What? Let's move on. Okay, from the Northern Wastes, Northern Bastard is with us.
Hello, you beautiful bastards. How are you all?
Very well.
Well,
very good, mate.
I'm currently about a 5 out of 10 at the moment, so a little bit under the weather still. We also have
better, so who knows? It might get better where you are.
Special guest back for this week. We also have Lord of Toxicity. Look at that amazing book he's reading. What's that?
Oh, you've caught me reading. I apologize.
Again?
Okay, we've got a strange echo, Tox. Make sure you mute any windows that you might have open if you've got the stream open, because there's an echo somewhere. I can hear myself. So, Daryl, good to see you. Okay, hold on. I'm going to try muting Tox, see if that solves the problem. Yeah, Tox, you got a window open where there's an echo. Please check your windows. We have Darth in the chat. Axel's Code. Great to see you back again. Thanks for coming in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please do share the stream. We're going to have a particular focus on one new show. Apparently, I sound like Lou. Who's this? Lou Gehrig? No idea who that is. Wasn't there Lou Gehrig's disease? Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna kick things off with a new show that's on Netflix. A lot of people are often complaining that there's never anything good to watch on Netflix. Are you good now? Let me unmute you. There you go. Yeah.
We sound okay?
Yeah, okay? We're good. So people are always complaining there's not many good news shows to watch. Well, this one dropped a few days ago. As soon as I saw the first 10 minutes, I thought this is going to be a good show. And I was right. And that is American Prime Eval. It's quite funny because my older bro and best bud, Jason Flemyng, was in a show called PRIMEVIL. And when he saw the poster for this, he didn't watch it because he thought it was actually an American remake of PRIMEVIL, the show that he was in, and he didn't really want to watch a remake. So also when I saw the poster for it, I have to confess, I did think it was going to be some sort of Western meets Mad Max kind of show. I didn't think we were going to get a historical show, but I was wrong. We got a very historical show, quite gritty, quite realistic, set in the American Far West during the time of the Mormon expansion into Utah. And I did quite a lot of Michael Googling as a result of that and checking on the history and characters, some of whom are like real characters that appear in the show. It's 6 parts. Each part is about 45 minutes. It's created by Mark L. Smith. If that name sounds vaguely familiar, he was the writer on The Revenant. So that is where the gritty realism for this show comes from, because it's tonally, the place is very bleak, it's very cold. People get killed, both by animals and other men. This is a brutal, violent place. So he is the main sort of creator behind it. But what particularly impressed me with the show was not only the writing, but the direction and the photography. So before we even get onto the cast, we'll talk about the director is none other than Peter Berg. Peter Berg is actually one of my favorite directors. He's done a number of films that I really love, like Lone Survivor. He did the movie on the Boston Marathon bombing, which is probably one of his best films. Absolutely fantastic movie. And he directed every single episode of this. And it looks amazing. There are so many fantastic shots. The music for the show is done by Explosions in the Sky. That's the same people that did the score for Lone Survivor and Friday Night Lights. And Peter Berg also directed the feature film of that. It's the cinematography is shot by Jacques Jouffret. He does all 6 episodes. So the thing has a really good, consistent look. He was DOP on Mile 22, Gran Turismo, Into the Wild, which actually, that's a show that looked really beautiful. He shot 4 episodes of Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, Songbird, and he, a whole number of other credits. He also did all of the Purge movies. So a real talented man, because the show does look really good. Production design, first rate. The production design is Rene Reed, another Frenchman, I believe, or French Canadian. They have worked on quite a number of high profile shows as well, including Under the Banner of Heaven. Did all 7 episodes of that, which you can currently catch on Disney, and a number of other shows and TV movies, but it's particularly good on this. So this is probably their best job to date. So multiple story narrative, you follow various characters, but the main thread is Taylor Kitsch trying to escort a woman to find her husband, a woman and her son. That's them on the right. And an Indian squaw ends up tagging along with them. And that's kind of the central narrative. There's a secondary story with this character, who's a Mormon who was moving for a better life. Their convoy got attacked. Most of them were killed. He's one of the few people that survived. And in fact, their convoy was attacked by other Mormons. So I'll try not to do too many spoilers. We've got the military cavalry unit as well. Pretty interesting. There's various native Indians with little storylines as well. And this actor, I can't say enough good things about this actor. I don't think I've ever seen him do a bad performance. He's absolutely amazing in everything that I've seen him in. His name is Shea Wiggum. A lot of people will probably remember him as the brother in Broadwalk Empire, which I think is when he first came to my attention. But he's constantly doing stuff. That's a great photo. So this show, not a perfect show. It does have it's got a couple of issues, but overall, when you're looking for good content, it's quite rare that I'm wowed by something online these days. And this show did actually wow me. I thought it was great, and I wanted to watch all of it as soon as I could. So let's hear what the rest of the panel had to think about it. Inside Man, jump in.
Well, I thought direction was great. The look of it, the cinematography was absolutely fantastic, but I didn't like it one bit. I didn't enjoy it. I really didn't enjoy it. I'm afraid.
We don't all sing from the same song sheet on this channel. That's what's good about it. You are entitled to your opinion, and you won't get shouted down. I mean, obviously, sometimes we have to take the inside man out like that. But you know,
Well, I'm here now.
But it's
Enzo's here now. Anyway, yes, carry on, mate.
I don't know. I mean, it was it's dark and it's gritty, but I think it's phony gritty. It doesn't feel really gritty. It does feel phony gritty. It feels like it's staged grit rather
How much realism grit do you need?
Well, as much as I can get. But I thought it was just very down, very miserable. And to be honest with you, I felt like I had to watch Schindler's List and slip my wrist afterwards to cheer myself up.
Yeah, it is quite bleak. I mean,
it's bleak.
That is. It's not a, it's not a relax and chill out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's not fun for the family. Bleak. Yeah.
It is
I
very
don't know.
bleak.
I didn't enjoy the writing at all. I just didn't enjoy it. It's just not my thing. Look, I love westerns. I love western shows. I love all kinds of westerns. But I thought, I don't think it knew what it was trying to be. It was trying to be not one thing nor the other. It was I felt like it was all over the place. I thought parts of it were. I mean, look, I'm an atheist, but I thought this was anti-Mormon claptrap at one point. I thought, oh, gosh, I think this is, can you be more on the nose with your writing if you can? And this is coming from an atheist, but I wasn't impressed by the acting. I hated the music. So there wasn't a great deal about it. It was really only the direction and the the art direction and the cinematography that I really thought was quite good. I mean, I love historical stuff, but of course, the thing about historical stuff is this, it's that opening line of the go-between. The past is a foreign country; they do things differently there. It's you can never get anything completely accurate, and anyone who thinks that they are watching something that is going to be absolutely as accurate as historically accurate as it was way back when. It doesn't matter what the time period is in which something is set. It doesn't matter anything about how much research has gone into it. The fact of the matter is this. Period pieces always tend to say more about the period in which they're made rather than the period that they portray. And that's what I felt this was saying more than anything. I just thought it just felt phony to me. So I'm really sorry for upsetting anybody, but that's just the way I feel. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I want your honest opinion. Don't want to just, hear waffle. Okay, Tox, what did you think?
This is by far the worst thing that I've watched in a very long time.
Oh my God, why did I allow you on? You really didn't like it? I thought you'd like it.
No, I didn't. And so Misery.
Does it offend your Mormon sensibilities?
No, I'm not. No, not at all. It's misery porn. It's misery porn for the Dutch angle misery porn for the sake of doing it. I mean, it's just like it's been done before with like the Nightingale, and it's just, I mean, it's just that, and it doesn't have any real redeeming qualities. And I toughed it out. I was feeling myself poorly yesterday, and basically spent the day at the girlfriend's house while she was at work watching this so that I could be on the stream today. And I was just like, this has got to get better. This has got to get better. And it never just got progressively worse and unrealistic.
I'll take some satisfaction that I put you through that, which is small compensation.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, man. Okay, sorry. In the order that people arrived, Northern, you're next. What did you think?
I think I like it a little bit better than Inside Man and Toxic does, but there is a lot of problems. There's
well, talk about the things you like about it first.
Yeah, the main storyline I really did like. I liked Taylor Kicks. I liked Betty Gilpin's character. I liked how they're completely opposite. I like the little bit of redemption. He's kind of this cynical sort of survivalist gardener, and she's still this very naive sort of proper prim woman who's allowing her good nature to be taken advantage of. And I do kind of like the little redemption act between Taylor's character and Betty, sort of like kind of like evolving as she undergoes more trauma and hardships. And I did like Jai Courtney as one of the bounty hunters as well. I mean, because 10 years ago he was getting cast in as lead roles and he was very bad, but he seems to do really well when he's playing scumbags.
He's good in this. He is good in this. He's barely recognisable.
He should play more scumbags. He suits that. But most of the other characters
he'll be pleased to hear that.
wasted in the other storylines. The Mormon looking for his wife, the landowner being accosted by the Mormons. Even Kim Coates gets wasted. Come on, you do not waste Kim Coates. He's awesome.
I feel like they brought him in to play that role. That was probably a funding thing, and he probably had limited time, because if you look at his scenes, they're all shot in 2 locations, and I bet he was in and out probably in like a week or something. And he's there.
And those other storylines kind of just don't go anywhere, though. I mean,
but if you read the history about his character, he's there in case there's a second season. That's why. Quite obviously, for
probably
me.
Probably is. But I mean, because when I saw limited series, I thought, okay, there's not going to be a second one after this, though. And I mean, even when the Mormon and wife, though, that kind of really felt wasted. I was like, what was the point of going on this journey with this poor guy when it was just amounting to nothing anyway? And the thing even though you've all said this is very bleak and miserable, the Taylor and the Betty storyline did have a little bit of hope. There was still a little bit of this humanity to it, though, which I did like, despite all the harshness going on. Yeah. And I do agree. The music is a little bit rubbish. It's just this dark all throughout the series, and
you didn't like.
But I do like a good hash western. And I think if they just focused on that storyline, the main storyline, and maybe just made it like an hour and a half movie, I think it would have been stronger for it.
Okay, interesting. Stupenzo.
Oh boy. Okay, well, I did. I watched it on everyone's behest. I watched the whole thing. I watched it.
Normal speed. Normal speed.
I actually did. I did slow it down because it was there's a lot going on, and I couldn't catch it. I didn't want to. I wanted to catch the nuances of the performances. Now, I love Peter Berg. He's a great director. I like how he directed pretty much the whole. Yeah. I like how he directed the whole show. Pretty much. I think he directed all 6 episodes, if not the majority.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's doing this cool Terrence Malick kind of visual style with this real close-up, short-angle lens style. It's very Terrence Malick-y. I liked the gore. It's pretty gory, pretty brutal. The music, I felt like it was borrowing from Dead Man a lot. In fact, the show kind of had a vibe of Dead Man meets Blood Meridian with a dash of Leroy Peters' favorite movie, The Searchers. But I pretty much have to agree with Inside Man 100%. This show is extremely like the idea that the Wild West, obviously it was a lawless land, a brutal land, but that doesn't mean it was just, every single person you encounter is going to kill you viciously. They really do a hard way of painting America as this hellscape, basically. It wasn't like that. And granted, there's a lot of murder going on, but people were punished.
How many years did you spend there when you went with your time machine?
My father was a recreational black powder shooter out in Tombstone area, New Mexico and stuff. So he dressed up like a cowboy for tourists and did all that recreational, old school stuff. He knew a lot about cowboys. In fact, he hated the show Deadwood because he said they cursed too much. People didn't cuss like that back then. And, that's the kind of guy he was. But anyway, I digress. More so, definitely a big Mormon people bad. The peaceful, Indians good. Even though they're kind of, that's the thing is they paint it as at first like it's going to be the Native. I was excited, the Native Americans are going to be assholes in this one. Good, but no, turns out they're just misunderstood.
The whole kind of it was the whole sort of noble savage trope. Not again.
A lot of that,
they could be very vicious. I mean, even before the white men came down, they were terrorizing other villages and
and everything. Yeah, like the Inside Man said, it's just very product of its time. And you've got the girl bosses. That was something that I thought was hilarious. Like the first time Homegirl doesn't listen to Taylor Kitsch, they almost get killed. The very next episode, she does the same thing and gets them captured. And she, it's just like, but of course she has to rescue them that time, which I guess was a good little flip of the script. But, it doesn't really, I don't know. It was just a lot of constantly getting in. It's an episodical thing. Netflix, again, this is a constant thing. I've always said Lance is always going to recommend something on Netflix that's super long and okay. It's going to be really, I would love it if this was just a really tight, awesome 2-hour movie. Like, this could be on par with Bone Tomahawk. If this was just like a tight movie, this could be a lot better, but there's just so much padding. And also just like Walking Dead, which goes on for many, many seasons. It's so like, there's no levity at all. And it's like Blood Meridian. I was trying to read Blood Meridian. I'd read it before bed and I had to stop because it's so fucked up. It was giving me messed up dreams and I did not like it. So it's hardcore. And this is like hardcore just for the sake of being hardcore, which I appreciate, but don't be telling us that this is like I hope they're not trying to tell us that this is like historically accurate in any
That's
way.
exactly what they're trying to. They're exactly trying to tell you this is historically
everything
accurate.
you know about the Wild West is a lie. It was
my initial take on it was a hyper realized sort of almost like a comic book.
It's definitely
it's
like
very hyper realized.
If you're doing like a horror movie version of the Wild West, this could fly. In fact, I was thinking the only thing that would make this actually cool is actually better is if you did do some kind of Bone Tomahawk thing where you had some kind of supernatural savages running around or a Wendigo shows up. That would be cool. Like,
how do you go that way with the French people because they came across very cannibalistic, like, didn't they?
Imagine how much better this would have been. I'm just thinking of this right now. Imagine if this was the same exact movie with all the side plots and all the characters, but Taylor Kitsch and the ladies and the little kids, they encounter a literal Wendigo and it just pivots into like Predator style movie where they have to run from a monster. We'd be talking about how this was amazing. This was the best thing I've seen in a while. This was fresh. This was cool. Or at least I would be.
I mean, actually, if the Indians, because they were the bad Indians and the noble Indians in it, but if the Indians had been on their trail and hunting them down, and it had almost been like
that would have been better too.
He's kind of doing like sort of Predator type things like traps and shit to take them out, and they've got their hunting party that are after them.
Like this whole bounty, the bounty thing would have been a better like B plot, and the big war with the Indians, which should have been, and the Mormons, obviously, like, I thought it was pretty cool that the Mormons were just like, irreprehensible, evil assholes, which was funny. But, it's just one of those things where the Mormons, really, they're the villains. Spoilers, I guess. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's not a secret, but
it's in the first episode, so I mean,
Well, Admirals usually very, very nice people, very polite.
Well, just to step in with a historical note. So, the massacre that happens in the show is based on a real one that was propagated by Kim Coates' character. It actually happened. They basically because he became very militant and he decided that Utah was his effectively, and that started a war, which if they cover it, it will happen in the next season if they do another season.
Another thing that was historically accurate that I appreciated. I was excited the first episode or two, but by episode 3, I was kind of like, and then by episode 6, I was like, I'm glad it's over. And of course, they did this trope at the end where like there's a moment where spoilers. There's a moment where like two people kiss, and you're like, really? Were they going to go there? And then, of course, as soon as they did that, I'm like, well, that means this guy's about to die. He's clearly going to die soon and do the noble sacrifice. And they do it. It was a little predictable. But one thing I did appreciate, I did do a research paper on the Donner Party. And I know about Jim Bridger, who ran Fort Bridger. Now, of course, in this show, they make it look like a, disgusting hellhole, which I'm sure it wasn't like, a nice suburban town or anything. But what's interesting about Jim Bridger, if you guys don't know this, and I figured this out, not a lot of people know this, but Jim Bridger is solely responsible for the Donner Party massacre, because basically what he allegedly did, and I'll just be quick about it, but basically he had his fort leading up to Hastings Path, which later became Hastings Cutoff. But he was the one telling people, go Hastings Path. It's faster. It's easier to get to California that way. He wanted traffic to go through his fort. So he was telling people, hey, go Hastings Cutoff, Hastings Path at the time, because that'll give me more business. And apparently someone went up to the path early and came back with letters to the Donner Party warning them that their wagons wouldn't make it and they shouldn't do it. And they presumably either got the letters and disregarded, or they think Jim Bridger never gave the Donner Party those letters. And so, yeah, interesting fact about that character. But he was a great actor. I love that actor, and he was the highlight of the show. I think it would have been cooler if just to do like kind of like Deadwood, just focus on Fort Bridger, like you're on a trading station and you're dealing with new characters. You know, that could have actually had a long form format.
Yeah, I could see that. Wow, controversial opinions.
I think you're the one with the controversial opinion.
If all of us think it's mid and you like it.
That's me and Inside Man having a civilized discussion in that photo about whether the show is good.
Which one is which?
RRTNZ says for 10 New Zealand bucks, history repeats itself. You're all wrong about Shogun 24. Wes is wrong about Landman. I should buy a lottery ticket. Read Joseph Smith's history. Don't fuck with the Mormons unless you're Chuck Norris.
No, I said, I like the fact that they're total evil assholes in this. It was an interesting villain choice. But like I said, combined with the noble savage trope, I was like, it would have been cool if there were bad Indians also, you know, who were bad all the way till the end, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I mean, this guy did slit 4 women's throats pretty quickly.
Yeah. Of course they try to redeem him, you know? I think a character like this is better when they're... Yeah, I know. And I think a character like this is better when they're irredeemable, kind of like the Mormon guy. The Mormon bad guy is like you hate him all the way through, and that's why he's a good villain.
Notice the demographic of the 4 women in which he slit the throats of, though. I'd like to put that out there. That was very specifically.
And then the lady who joins their side, you know, it's just like, you know, that kind of stuff is just a bit on the nose. That's the Searchers thing I was talking about.
That was a little bit Dances with Wolves, wasn't it?
A little bit like the Searchers.
Searchers probably more accurate.
The Searchers was grim about it, you know. They weren't trying to paint her as a hero or anything.
Right. This show is like Deadwood if like Eli Roth directed Deadwood.
It's a little. It's weird coming from a person like me or Lord Toxic, but this show is too violent. It is just a little over the top. Yeah.
I don't mind. And to clarify, I don't mind. You know, like really brutal. You know, I realize that we get the same team as the Revenant here. I don't have an issue with that in particular. What I have an issue with is the show kind of wants to have it both ways. They've got all this brutal, random death and violence occurring during the massacre scene, which I thought was extremely well done.
Great scalping scene, scalping scene that's so great.
However,
multiple episodes, it's just gross.
However, Betty Gilpin and her son have James Bond level plot armor as they just navigate through the whole thing. She's doing nothing different than anybody else is doing, and none of those arrows or bullets manage to find her. And I mean, come on, man, you can't have it both ways.
You missed the subplot. She's got a Predator shield thing that she picked up at the trading
apparently.
Place. Yeah.
Well, so it's also you've also okay.
And then and then later, as you know, Enzo indicated, you know, not only does she get them in the predicament she does, but then when she extricates them from it, she totally turns into the Betty Gilpin character from The Hunt and starts, you know, John Wick Old West style. Everybody like, dude, there's no way. Like,
right. It comes out of nowhere. But I do like the idea. I liked how they were kind of going into this idea like, oh, I'm a loud, proud, independent woman. I'm not going to listen to a man. And every time she does it, it just backfires horribly. But then they quickly abandon that and it's like they kind of, you know, like I said, she just becomes like a John Wick character out of nowhere when it's appropriate or when it's needed,
when
I guess.
The plot demands it. Yeah.
Agreed. And you know, I mean, it's kind of like if like, what's the show with the motorcycles, Sons of Anarchy, kind of, but with a Western, I don't know, just like, it's just too gritty, a little over the top. It would be cool if there was some interesting scenes of people not trying to kill each other, you know, but not also hating each other, like some scenes of some actual, like, hey, friendship and hospitality. Cause like the idea that the Wild West was just like complete misery. And this, like, like I said, this blood meridian, you know, image of what we think of, no, and it wasn't all puppies and rainbows either. It wasn't all, gold digging for gold and getting rich. But it was a mix, just like life, there's gray area.
You need a release, right? You need a release valve. Now, certainly you don't need quippy Joss Whedon-esque dialogue characters, being like, boy, that arrow almost found its mark. Am I right? You don't.
The other thing is you can do the super dark, super effed up, hardcore Western like Bone Tomahawk, but make it like 90 minutes, 2 hours tops, because like after like 3 hours of this, man, I'm kind of like wanting to tap out. Yeah, it's draining. This kind of morose, there's no point in anything.
Let's get the ratings in out of 10. I can't wait to hear these. So Inside Man.
Probably
9.
2.
2.
Yeah, that's the best I could get, and that's really for the direction.
Oh, really? You give it 2 points, even for the photography and everything. Come on.
Yeah, that's
it's not a 2, man.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't. It just didn't jive with me. I just, like I said, I just thought it was phony. It just felt phony to me. Yeah. And I thought the gore and violence was.
Shush now. Okay, Tox. What are you giving it out of 10?
I mean, I will give it a 5, just for the fact that the acting is good. I really feel like Betty Gilpin's criminally underutilized. I love seeing her when she pops up, and I think she played the hell out of it. And I agree with you, Lance. Shea Brigham, is that how you pronounce his name? That played Bridger.
I think it's Wiggum. Is it Wiggum?
Is it Wiggum? Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know if it's like Sheriff Wiggum. I'm not sure.
Sure. I've liked him ever since Tigerland. I think he's a great actor. He elevates anything he's ever in. And the cinematography is amazing. And I like some of the other actors that I don't usually get to play them in roles that, so, I mean, but yeah, 6 hours is just too long, Lance. I'm sorry.
Well, it's not 6 hours. It's 45 minutes, 6 episodes. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a couple episodes that are an hour, a couple that are 50 minutes, but it's about 5.5 hours, I'd say.
Yeah, I think it's about 5.5 altogether. All right. So, yeah. So your rating was, what was it? 6 out of 10, was it?
5.
5. Okay. Northern?
Probably give it a 6.5. It's there's a really, really great Western shot in there. It's just needs a little bit of retweaking, and I doubt it'll get a second series. And if it does, hopefully they might be able to fix some of the mistakes, that probably did let it down a bit.
Okay, interesting. And Stupenzo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want a season 2. This could have been if this was a solid 2-hour movie, this could have been an 8. It's a 5 or 6 where it stands, but because of the length, I gotta deduct a point 4. But yeah, definitely some great stuff technically. Like I said, one of the better scalping scenes I've seen in a long time. But I mean, for 5.5 hours, I think there's probably 50 minutes of some really good stuff and maybe another 30 minutes of some decent stuff. But like I said, you could have made a really awesome movie. And again, just padding for streaming platforms with more content. Take your movie 4 hours and 30 minutes if they're 4.5 to 5.5 hours. I don't know.
So that's 17 out of a potential 40 points from the 4 of you. Fortunately, I'm giving it 29 out of 10. So,
hell yeah,
cool. That puts it so it's
almost way too kind.
50 points, nearly there. So yeah, okay. Well, some of us recommend it, some of us don't. Some of us are on the fence about it. I suggest you watch it.
Here's the thing. I think ladies are gonna like it a lot more than the fellas. I think if you like informative murder porn and historical dramas, this is gonna kind of tickle, and you like the long form content. Yeah, you'll like it. It's worth watching.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's currently scoring 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb. Clearly, Inside Man hasn't put his rating on yet.
Not yet.
Let's have a quick look at some of the review headlines, because not many shows can get 141 reviews on IMDb in a few days. But this one has. That's quite an achievement, whether they're good or bad. So we got 9 out of 10, unsentimental, bold and gritty. 9 out of 10, loved it. 9 out of 10. Gritty and brutal take on the American West. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Brutal, unforgiving. Yeah, lots of brutals in here. 1883 on steroids. I have to say, I did like it as much as 1883, which I'm a big fan of. Here's a good one, but not without issues. Let's have a look at what the criticisms are. Yeah, lots of talking about the Mormons, basically making them too bad. Sarah is insufferable. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Started so strong.
How are you doing, Lance? Are you all right? You sound sick still.
I'm ill, man. I'm ill. I've got a chest infection.
You getting better?
So, yeah, but don't worry. That's why I got you guys here. Okay,
right,
so
good.
there's some good, it's a mixed bag, but a lot of people like it.
Well,
So,
that's the common trend with the Netflix shows. They're way too long and they're decent. Like I said before, many occasions, if you're going to make me watch something that's 5 hours long or longer, it better be amazing. It better be badass. And I know Lance was excited about me watching. He was like, "You're going to love it. It's great." I'm like, "Okay." And yeah, I think we're all going to just have to, please start recommending Netflix movies. If you're going to have to recommend something on Netflix for us to watch, please, I'm begging you, just one of the weeks out of the month, that'd be awesome. If you just recommend something short.
Okay, well, I've got to have some other recommendations. We'll get to those
Good
in a minute. Right, well, that was American Primeval. Inside Man, what have you got to recommend us this week?
Blood and Black Dragons. It's Gialli, directed by Mario Bava. It's probably the I would suggest the very first proper what we know as Giallo movies. There have been a few prior to this, but this was the one that really kicked it off with all of those tropes, all of those Gialli tropes. So we have a fashion house, and within this fashion house, these various models, they're also residents. So one of the models gets murdered. Of course, there's a little bit of a MacGuffin. One of the other models discovers that she has a diary. And of course, everybody within the fashion house is mentioned in the diary, and there's all kinds of scandals and what have you. So everybody who gets hold of the diary, everyone wants the diary. So everyone who gets hold of the diary is mysteriously killed by this dark and sinister figure. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, there's a couple of minor sort of technical things, but it's brilliantly directed. I mean, the opening sequence, the title sequence, is one of the best. And I'm quite big on my title sequences. It's just, it's a really beautiful film to watch. 1964, but this is the sort of genesis of real serial killer movies.
Mario Bava was ahead of his time in some ways.
Way ahead of his time. I mean, he kind of pinched a little bit off of Alfred Hitchcock, really. I mean, he did The Girl Who Knew Too Much, which was obviously stolen from Hitchcock's The Man Who Knew Too Much. But he does add a little bit of Alfred Hitchcock in there. There's a little bit of Agatha Christie in there. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a little bit of Agatha Christie in there, but it's not one of these whimsical films. It's it's nasty. The killings are really, really bad. They're really quite unpleasant. And for a film of its time, I mean, even now you watch some of these killings and you think, Jesus Christ, that's pretty hardcore. But it's a great film, and it's available to watch for free on YouTube.
Oh, we always like to hear that. Fab stuff. Okay, what would you give it out of 10?
This has got to be in the 9+, I'd say. So it's 9.5.
So similar to your American Primeval rating.
Okay. Yeah. It's a high 9 on this one. Yeah.
Fantastic. Luke, sorry, or our Northern Bastard. What have you got to recommend us today?
Oh, the 2006 time-traveling police comedy drama, Life on Mars. It tells a story
It's
of
the life I'm mad. Yeah, that's the one.
It tells the tale of Sam Tyler, who gets run over by a hit and run accident, and he wakes up in 1973 for some reason. And he's a very modern day copper as well, and he has to sort of endure the old school sort of casual, sexist, chain smoking, whiskey drinking, kind of like proper old school bobbies from the time, who aren't so keen on these much more modern attitudes towards women. And his boss is the great Gene Hunt, played by Philip Glanster, who's like this proper fucking toxic masculine guy that I can't help but love. You know, modern days people will call him toxic masculinity, but he's awesome. He's just
I like him already.
Yeah, he's a goddamn man
type of guy. He has the best one-liners, the most offensive one-liners, and Philip Glanster looks like he's having a ball playing this.
This is the show
guy.
that put Philip Glenister on the map, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
There was also
a very unlikely sex symbol as well. I mean, because he's not a very jacked guy. He's not a conventionally good-looking guy. He's got a bit of a fucking beard, but women really loved him because he was a fucking old school man's man. He wasn't.
Yeah.
It's out, love.
Yeah, this show definitely wouldn't get made today. It had a spin-off show as well.
Yep, Ashes to Ashes, where this time he's teamed up with a very, very liberal London woman who's kind of a little bit of a feminist as well, but it does kind of give a nice little contrast to each other, you know, a little clash of personalities. And the same goes with John Sim here as Sam Tyler, and it's very chalk and cheese. They come to blows a couple of times, but other times they come to common ground as well.
I met John Sim when this was probably on about season 3, because it ran for about 4 seasons, didn't it? I think.
Yeah, Life of Mars ran 2 seasons, and Ashes to Ashes ran 3 seasons. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, including the spin-off. Yeah, I met him. I think it probably was around 206 or 207, something like that. And,
it did get an American remake as well with Harvey Keitel as the Gene Hunt role, but it didn't do all that well.
Terrible. So. I've seen it. It's awful.
This was an interesting idea, I thought, because especially because there was an ambiguity about whether he did actually travel back in time,
or if he was in a coma,
whether he was in a coma, and this was all a figment of his comatose imagination. But it was interesting. What was interesting for me, and probably for Lance as well, I mean, Luke, this would have gone completely over your head, but there was a lot of little nods to like the early 70s
Sweeney and the Professionals and all that kind of stuff. Those 1970s copper shows where people did a lot of running and skipping over the bonnets of Ford Cortinas, all that awesome stuff.
That's the Professionals.
But it was also, you know, like the little bits on TV, little bits of music, and just loads of little bits in there that were real kind of nostalgia tweaks for me, and I really enjoyed this series. I loved it. I really loved it.
Because it's got a very good fish out of water vibe as well. Like he keeps throwing in modern references that go over the heads of his team, and there are probably a few inaccuracies, like they don't know much about surveillance and that, and bugging people because but until Sam invents it. But I don't know. I think that kind of stuff was already done with coppers in the 60s, but just not maybe as much as it is these days. Yeah, police officers. Yeah, old school term, coppers.
I know. I like it.
Copper.
Yeah, and Gene Hunt is kind of a bastard as well, because he does kind of frame criminals for crimes they haven't committed in order to sort of be.
Well, that's what the police did back then, but believe it or not.
I know, and it's sort of like it sort of leads to Sam being conflicted on whether he's the kind of copper he wants to work with, but other times he does see that he's not just doing it for personal gain. He actually does care about the people's safety on the streets. He's just kind of maybe going the wrong way about it a little bit as well.
Where did you watch it to rewatch it, so to speak?
It's on Netflix at the moment.
Okay, so the whole thing.
Yeah, Ashes to Ashes, unfortunately, is not on Netflix anymore, so I kind of had to go for other sources to watch it.
Okay.
Secret sources.
And what would you give it out of 10?
I give it a 10 out of 10. It's good fun. It has a good sense of humor as well, and it's very dark and gritty as well. Everything looks very lived in. I mean, even though most of the locations probably did not look like that in the 70s in Manchester, it still has that very grimy, sort of very rundown look.
Well, I mean, Manchester did actually get bombed during the Second World War, and apparently they did £3.50's worth of damage.
Yeah.
Inside Man's here all week. RRTNZ says, has anyone watched Power on Netflix? Yes, I have. I watched the first 2 seasons with my ex. We kind of liked it. It was sort of, pretty fun. It was sort of kind of a fun, cool New York gangster show, kind of a African-American Scarface, modern kind of thing. And then but it kept fairly realistic for the first 2 seasons, and then it started spinning off in some mad directions. And I know it's got a couple of spin-off shows now, Ghost and various other things. It's okay. It's kind of, it's definitely something you can watch to pass the time because it's well made, whether it's your cup of tea. But it does stretch the believability a bit too much for me. Does anyone else watch Power? No? Okay.
I've not watched it yet.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, watch season 1 and see what you think. Who else has seen Life on Mars, and what would you give it out of 10? Inside Man?
Definitely a 10 out of 10. I mean, this was one of those shows that I was waiting for every single week. It was, eagerly awaited every week. It was a great show. And now that I know that it's on Netflix, I'm going to crack on with this again tonight, actually. So I'll catch up with it again, yeah.
Right after you've rewatched American PRIMEVIL again, just to make sure.
Yeah, just to make sure.
Fantastic. Anyone else seen Life on Mars? Anyone? Okay. All right. So thank you for that recommendation, Northern. So Stupenzo, guess what? I started watching a show which had 6 seasons. And anywhere, well, I think let's say the total was 103 episodes, right?
Wow.
103 episodes. Started watching this show on the 2nd of January, and I watched the last episode yesterday.
Must have been a good show.
God.
Well, I was quite poorly, so it was that show that I was sort of putting on. I was kind of putting it on when I was going to sleep, and I thought I'll watch a couple of episodes of this, because it was the first show that me and my ex did not watch together because I was too busy trying to make Pegasus Bridge at the time, and I just remembered her saying, "I know, this show's good," and it is quite good, but I'm going to qualify that a little bit. It's Parenthood. So this won't be everyone's bag, but I think anyone who's a parent and has been through the various issues that you have having kids will probably have something in this show for them. What's really good about the show, though, what kept me engaged was the cast. Sometimes, the moral message of the week was a little bit on the nose and whatnot, but the cast and their characters, none of whom were perfect. That's what I liked about it. Some people started off like very kind of black and white, and you had one family that was the perfect family. But then by the second season, you could see that relationship was in a lot of trouble. There's a storyline around a kid with Asperger's, who's this character here on the left with the black curly hair, who's played by Max Burkholder. Extremely good job by that kid, who's quite young when he starts off in season 1. He's a tall teenager by season 6. It's the same actors all the way through. And, I'm a big fan of Craig T. Nelson. Anyone who's seen The Rock will be a big fan of Monica Potter. And then it introduced me to quite a few other actors that I wasn't that familiar with, like Dax Shepard Lauren Graham, who is particularly good. Joy Bryant. You've got Bonnie Bedelia, who's Bruce Willis's other half in the Die Hard movies. Sam Yeager and Peter Krause and Mae Whitman. All of the cast in this were really, really good. So I'm not saying it's the best thing I've ever watched or anything like that. I give the show overall, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. But what it is a well-written, easy-to-watch drama that, you know, you can watch with your partner. You know, if they want to watch something that doesn't have Clint Eastwood in, or people running around in combat jackets or motorcycles beheading people or whatever, this is probably a good pick. And it's, you know, you can put it on and do stuff in the background and still follow the plot quite easily. So
how does it compare? How does it compare to the movie with Steve Martin?
Tonally, it's exactly the same.
That seems like a show. That seems like a show. Like if you told me, oh, they're making a show based on Parenthood, I would be like, okay, I could kind of see that being like more like you could expand on the idea of Parenthood, you know, long form.
Yeah,
but
I mean, and it's just the right side of not being too much like a soap, but it does have a soap tone, but it's just the right side. It's just got slightly higher, I mean, much higher production values than, you know, something like Sunset Beach or whatever. I mean, that you've got amazing actors in it that are at the top of their game. The guest actors are all pretty good, and you know, there were quite a few moments where it made me cry. I mean, I think one of the things I found particularly difficult about the show was there'd be a storyline. I'll pick one example where there's this one couple, the guy's working too hard. They're feeling, the wife is feeling too disconnected and, you know, feels their relationship is going the wrong direction. And she insists on date night. And I remember my ex-partner coming out and saying exactly that. And you know that happened right after she watched that episode. And there were probably about 6 other things that came up and that I could pinpoint. And I know exactly when she watched this show, which was 2017, when I was working my balls off to try and save this movie. And yeah, 7 or 8 things. So I found that quite difficult, but also very moving, because I had lived through some of those things. And for a moment, I was one of those characters, you know, and it was our dilemma kind of thing. So, yeah, quite an unusual experience. I wasn't expecting to sort of have it hit me in the feels in that way. But, yeah, there we are. So, solid 8 out of 10. Won't be for everybody, but it is, yeah, if you've seen the original movie with Steve Martin, this is very much the same bag. Some of the same production team are involved, Ron Howard and so on. But sorry, yeah, you're right. Monica Potter is in Con Air, not The Rock. Yeah, I am ill. Thank you. So yeah, she's the babe in Con Air. I do get those 2 films mixed up because they came out within a year of each other. They're both Jerry Bruckheimer. They've both got lots of gorgeous sunsets and silhouettes of people charging towards you.
Both got Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. So, you know.
Just mullet. Yeah,
mullets in both films. Major mullets, actually. Yeah, so I did want to give that a plug, so we will. Yeah, Stupenzo. What have you got to recommend?
Well,
no
Christmas I was out of town movies. No. I was out of town for 2 weeks, and I watched a bunch of good old stuff. You know, I watched what did I watch? I watched Magnolia, There Will Be Blood, The Terminal, Catch Me If You Can, Headsucker Proxy. Watched but something I watched a couple weeks ago that I haven't gotten to talk about yet. And it won Best Animated Feature Film at the Golden Globes. It's called Flow. That was a trip, dude. I liked it a lot. It's another one of these movies with no dialogue. It's very abstract, very metaphorical. Just a really cool story about there's like a cat, a little black cat running around some kind of wilderness world where there don't seem to be any humans. And this big flood just starts happening. And this little black cat's trying to navigate this flooded nature land with all these various animals that it encounters. And it's just a really, really cool story that, you know, it can mean a lot of things. The whole movie is like a dream, you know. It's definitely it was out there. It was new. It was something I hadn't seen before. It has this kind of video game cutscene that never ends kind of vibe.
Right.
But I liked it a lot. And I know some people were upset that it won Best Animated Feature Film. It beat the new Wallace and Gromit. It beat what was the other big one people wanted to win? I don't know, Sonic the Hedgehog or some bullshit. I don't know. But the point is, Flo deserved it. I thought Flo was a good one. The one I recommended, Memoir of a Snail, and that was also nominated.
Right.
But I think this one has way more of a rewatchability factor, because I think this is one of those things that you could just watch. You could have 10 different people watch this movie and they would have 10 different ideas of what it's actually about. It's cool.
We actually discussed this last week when you weren't here.
God damn it.
Somebody else recommended it. No, another recommendation from someone is good. I do want to talk about Magnolia, which you mentioned.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite movies of all time.
This is also one of my favorite movies of all time. Look at that. Depends on me. Do agree occasionally. I would also argue quite strongly that this is one of the best performances of Tom Cruise's career. In this movie.
The best.
Yeah. I mean, I have said the best, but he's done a couple of things since then that are, you know, pretty good. But yeah, I mean, he's amazing in this film. Now, so here's the thing. I saw this movie at the cinema. This is an amazing scene as well. And, you know, it's got that very kind of unusual, I love it though, intro sequence about how basically it's talking about cause and effect and how, you know, if a man coincidences, if a man throws a snowball at a passing car, I mean, that's not what's in the film, but you know, that car can career off the road and hit a lamppost kind of thing. And and I thought, what the fuck is this? You know, I was kind of like, and then of course all of that makes perfect sense because that's basically the narrative of the whole movie. You know, chuck a stone in a pond, ripples impact people. What I've noticed about people with this film, and I'd be interested to hear from the panel, is people who saw it at the cinema first absolutely love this movie. People who watched it on DVD or whatever at home tend to be less impressed by it, and I think that's because at home you can easily get distracted, and this is a movie that demands your attention because there's so much in it. You've got to concentrate when you watch it.
And it's got this repetitiveness about it, but that's by design. You know, there's this like it seems to be like repeating itself a lot in the middle of the movie. It's kind of dragging on. It's 3+ hours long, you know. And it's definitely written by you know, Cocaine. Cocaine was heavily influenced with the writing of this movie, without a doubt. And it's very you know,
you heard it here first. Depenzo was there.
A little boisterous. I think P.T. Anderson has joked about this, but yeah, listening to Amy Mann music, which is all up in the soundtrack, and writing this, and he said it's the biggest script I've ever done. It's like 400 pages or some nonsense, you know. And yeah, it's got that, you know, auteur filmmaker like kind of boastful kind of vibe. But this movie is like an actor's like wet dream, you know, like this movie, like getting one of these parts. Totally, this movie's totally sold by the performances. And it is a weird script. It is a weird story. But also Robert Elswith, one of my favorite DPs, the director of photography. This movie is just so well storyboarded and staged, and everything's meticulous and by design. It's just very my favorite is like in the intro and all throughout the movie. You know, I mean, spoilers, there's a big thing that happens. Well, that thing is referenced in the Bible in Exodus 8:2. So because of that, there's like 82 like peppered all throughout the movie, especially the opening montage. 82, you'll see the number 82 peppered all the time. In fact, Frank T.J. Mackey's phone number, 877-TAME-HER, TA82. There's just 82s everywhere. And that is a reference to Exodus 8:2, which, you know, is the big thing at the end of the movie. And yeah, it's just, I can see people thinking this movie is pretentious. I can see people saying this movie is, you know, a writer director with his head up his own ass, smelling his own farts. But I still like it. I think it's a great movie about love and loss and dying and cancer. It's a lot about cancer. That seems to be a common theme. In fact, magnolia flowers were once rumored to be a cure for cancer. So interesting.
Well, I'd agree. I'd give this a 9.5 out of 10. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Anybody else want to chip in with a rating quickly?
I give it a 9 out of 10. It's very solid.
Easy 9.
Generally care about the bloody characters, even though I mean, even Julianne Moore's character was kind of this gold digger who kind of regrets not loving him enough while he was still alive.
Yeah, her whole
that
story is about her redemption, isn't it?
I mean, she kind of broke my heart a little bit watching it.
Yeah, guilt and regret are also huge things about this movie.
Especially with Jason Robarb's character when Tom Cruise goes to confront him.
I'd give this a 9 out of 10 too, but I'd give Boogie Nights a 10 out of 10. I think I do like Boogie Nights a little bit more.
Yeah, Boogie Nights obviously is more accessible for obvious reasons.
I love Boogie Nights, but I don't know. The last 15-20 minutes of that movie I mean, I know it slows down to a crash and it's pretty grim, but I always found when I rewatched it again recently, I don't know. I think I probably like Magnolia more. The story behind this basically is when he did Boogie Nights, which was everybody thought Boogie Nights was going to flop because Burt Reynolds was going around telling everybody he was disowning the movie, and he went around telling everybody in the business, "I've done this film, it's terrible, don't watch it, it's awful." And of course, it was a big surprise hit. So the studio turned around to P.T. Anderson and said, "Right, what do you want to do? You can do whatever you want." And he just he already had the idea for this percolating. So he thought, right, I'm going to do Magnolia now because this is the only time they're going to let me make this film. And I have to
carte
do it
blanche.
Now. So like you said, it's like he got lucky. His second film is an auteur film because they had
this is technically his third film, but
The
point is a lot of times writer, director, auteurs, usually their second movie, sometimes it's a bust. And Boogie Nights was like leading up to probably be a bust, but it ended up being a huge hit. And this is like the follow-up. And people again thought this was going to be you could tell just from the marketing of this movie that he was doing something different and something a little more kind of, less accessible and a little more out there, but also a little like pulled back on the gratuitousness. And then he followed this up with Punch Drunk Love, which was like, okay, you don't know what this guy's going to do next.
Melora Waters, who's on screen now, I have tried numerous times to get her on the channel. She's effectively retired from acting and is now a painter.
She painted all the paintings in the movie in her room. Those are all her real paintings. Yeah.
I find her really interesting to watch in anything she's in. She's got this really kind of beautiful sort of raw fragility. And the scene with her and the policeman, where, he's kind of desperate for a human connection. He's so lonely. And he sees something in her that he feels in himself, that she's also disconnected and lonely, and he's trying to connect to her. That scene where they're kind of on that weird date, and she's not quite sure what to do. That is such an amazing scene. It's some of the best acting I've ever seen. It's because they're both so dysfunctional, and they play it so well, and it's believable. I can see that.
Yeah. I've argued that Melora Walters, Claudia Wilson Gator in this movie is the main character of the movie, the heart of the film. It kind of ends with her, but I mean, she's got a very small part considering all the other parts, but she's kind of one of the central characters that's connected kind of to everybody through, I mean, they're all kind of connected.
Cameo from Henry Gibson there.
Yeah. No, but Melora Walters, dude, please tell me you've seen Cabin Boy with Chris Elliott.
I feel like I have, because that title rings bells.
The movie's hilarious, but yeah, Melora Walters is the romantic interest in that one. She's fantastic. That's such a funny ass, weird ass movie. I love it. There's an 8.2 right there.
Now you can call me Cabin Man.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that already is making me feel scared. Okay, so surprise little discussion, but very worthy, because if you haven't seen it, Magnolia is a fantastic film. If you're an actor, it is like a masterclass in acting. And yeah, Tom Cruise's best performance. Nerdly says, who's being well behaved today, Magnolia is up there in my top 10. So there we go. Okay, fab. Tox, you got something you want to recommend us?
Yeah, it's with a saddened heart. I'm gonna go ahead and follow along with Enzo and give up on TV. And I've been burned now 3 times in a row. So I went into movies and I watched a documentary called Superman about Christopher Reeve's life.
Oh, we've talked about this twice before on the Nielsen ratings. Have you got?
Well, as Enzo will tell you, I don't like Superman. I don't like Superman. Right. So that led me down. Now retroactively started watching. He and I talked about today. I started watching Smallville, which was a WB Superman prequel type show.
Yeah, I remember it.
And God, it I'm not a Superman fan, more Batman guy. But this brought back so many early 2000s like memories. I had a best friend that was like super into Superman, no pun intended, and he sadly lost his life over in Iraq. I remember he just every week when the show would come on, he'd be like, we'd be in the day room where we had the one TV, and he'd be like, everybody shut up, my show's on, and he had Superman
and
tattoos.
You're talking about Smallville here.
I am, yeah. Okay. So like I said, I gave up on TV, but I guess what I'm saying is I gave up on current TV, and I've done what Enzo did. Like Enzo won't watch a TV show unless it's completed, and I kind of have given him crap about that in the past. I'm like, no, come on, you got to give. So, but I've just been burned 3 times in a row, so I'm down on season 2 of this, and it's just a really well done show. I mean, it definitely shows its age a little bit with that early 2000s, 3 Doors Down type soundtrack and stuff. But even that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to hear those songs pop up again, like Let Me Go from 3 Doors Down pops up when he has like amnesia and he sees Lana for the first time in a long time, and seeing these people so young doing this thing, it's really cool. And I'm hard pressed to say there's a better Lex Luthor than I don't know the actor that plays him in the show, but
Michael Rosenbaum.
Thank you. I think he's the best. I think he's the best Lex Luthor.
Yeah, you're not the first person on this channel to say that.
So, nice. So that's what I've been doing that. And like I said, I know you guys talked about Superman. I'm sorry I'm late to the game on that, but I watched that, and it choked me up a little bit. I'm not going to lie. And that's it.
You got burned by Landman, you're saying, recently?
I got burned by Landman. I got burned by Yellowstone. Yeah, and I got...
Yeah, he said he didn't like the last episode of Landman.
Hello?
Is that true? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're vamping.
I didn't want... I thought Lance didn't say to tell me something I wanted to poop on. He said
Lance has stepped away to toilet.
He said to talk about something that I recommended, not something I disavowed. So Landman burned me, and then of course Lance had us watch this terrible misery porn show with the American Primeval, and you
covered that already. I thought like the discussion of Landman Let Me Down would spark furious debate. Great time for me to have a wee. But no, you managed to do the hay bales across the western town again for 5 seconds.
Well, I didn't think. I thought you didn't want me to. I think you wanted me to give you a recommendation, not a.
No. Yeah, we want recommendations. Absolutely. Hey, Jill's in the chat. Good to see you, Jill.
Hey, Jill. How are you? But yeah, this is just. I know Enzo said that he doesn't like the WB, and that's fine. But I
wasn't into the WB when this stuff was on. When I was in high school, I was. I would totally revisit Smallville and check it out.
No, but I mean, like, you know me. I'm a big Angel, Buffy, Veronica Mars. I have a real that was probably the best time in my life. That early part of the Army, when I'd get off work and you know, I'd get to watch, you know, whatever my wife at the time had recorded for me to, you know, genre type shows or whatever, and then, you know, play some PlayStation 2 and things like that back before I went off to the war and lost my soul and all that stuff. So like seeing stuff like this is really, and I didn't really give this a chance because I've never been a big Superman fan, but I'm digging it. I'm really enjoying it.
Just to let you know, I have your soul in a jar here, and I'll negotiate the fee.
I wondered. Yeah, I don't want it. I don't need it. I do better without it, actually.
Well, it keeps trying to get out the jar, so I'm quite happy to give it back to you because it wants to return to its master. It keeps telling me. So Smallville, what would you give it out of 10? How much of it have you seen? Have you seen the lot?
Well, see, back in the day, I caught an episode here and there, but I didn't understand, you know, because you can't. It's a show you can't miss too many episodes, or you're going to be completely lost. So now I've actually started watching it from the get-go, and I'm halfway into season 2. So, but I mean, I'm familiar with the entirety of the plot. I'm familiar with all of it. I know how it ends and stuff like that because it's been so many years. But it's enjoyable to watch it step by step. So I definitely give it an 8 out of 10. It's very well done.
The problem with older shows like that is like there's so much, like, you know, how many seasons is it? Each season is probably like 20 something episodes.
Yeah, it's back in the day when they did, and see, you know, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's a thing that we've really lost. Like, you know, they used to just crank out 22 episode seasons on something, even a genre show. Now they struggle to get 8 to 9 episodes out, and then it's
a year, and they'll take a multi-year break between seasons now.
You wish a year. It's like, oh, hey, from season 3, yeah, we're done. We'll see you in 2028. You know, it's like, wait, what? Like, I guess, you know, so we're still waiting on Stranger Things season 4 in 2025, man.
Season 4, section B or whatever.
Right. And they do that mess. But yeah, and that's something that I like. You know, I don't mind candy episodes or filler episodes, whatever you want to call them. I have a soft spot for that. So yeah, it's just, you know, early aughts stuff. I don't know, maybe I'm getting old, and there's no maybe, I'm getting old. But you know, watching stuff like that, and
there's no getting. You are old.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Dear.
I'm old too.
You can always guarantee to feel old on this channel. That's a consistent theme. So yeah, good. All right. Well, thanks for recommending Smallville. I've never seen it. I don't know. That might be the next one that if this illness hangs around, I'm going to have to binge another show. So
yeah, and also that new Superman movie's coming out, so maybe it's a good time to, you know, dredge up the past and watch the old Superman stuff.
I need to finish the show.
Where can people watch Smallville? Where can people watch Smallville?
I believe I think it's free on either one of them, free Tubi or Pluto things. I have a Plex Pass that has like all different shows loaded on it from a military buddy of mine that's in the drinker group. So I kind of have an ace in the hole. But I'll put it in the chat. Give me 1 second and I'll look it up for you. But
I'll look it up right now.
Okay, thank you. Oh, we've got all kinds of
Smallville's on Hulu. Smallville's on Hulu.
Fandad Menace is in the chat.
Hey, Fandad.
Jill, you still look in your 20s, so I don't know what you're worried about. Okay. All right, fab stuff. Thank you for that recommendation. Let's move on. I know you've got let's talk about Violent City Inside Man, because that's a film I've also seen.
Yeah. Directed by Sergio Solima. 1970, I think, released in Europe, the rest of Europe in 71, but it was originally released in 1970. Charles Bronson, a hitman. It starts off with a chase. Look, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a lot of information that's being drip fed to the audience throughout the movie, and of course you're picking up all these tiny little nuggets here and there, and so he's a hitman. He's with his then wife Jill Ireland, or his late wife Jill Ireland. So they're driving through the streets. I think they're in the Virgin Islands, I believe. and there's a chase that ensues and lots of gunfire. He gets shot. He dumps her on the sidewalk and drives off, gets caught, is in the clink. While he's in chokey, his lawyer comes and has a little bit of a chin wag with him to try and get him out. And of course, somebody wants to, or he wants to take revenge on whoever it was that was trying to kill him. But there's other things afoot, and of course, he's trying to find out who was trying to kill him. Telly Savalas is his former boss. He's also trying to get hold of Jill Ireland. He finds out that Jill Ireland is with his former boss. But it's great. It really is a typical Poliziotteschi movie. Set in multiple locations. So it's set in the Virgin Islands and New Orleans. Although it's a joint French-Italian co-production. All the studio stuff was shot in Cinecittà in Rome.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I've got to say, this is by far above and beyond my favorite Ennio Morricone score. There's a track. There is a track in this. I think it's on the soundtrack. I think it's track 7. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I think it's Asfalto. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But
we'll go with track 7. That's fine.
Track 7. It's an amazing piece of music. And it kind of made me, watching this again recently, it made me realize why I love Poliziotteschi so much, but also why I love Ennio Morricone so much. Morricone, for my money, I think Morricone, Roy Budd, and Lalo Schifrin are probably my favorite composers of all time. And I suddenly realized why.
I like Lalo Schifrin as well. He's
Yeah,
great.
you're also a bit of a fan of Roy Budd as well, I think.
Talking about Roy Budd the other night with the Wild Geese.
Yeah, so. and it's funny. I realized watching this again and listening to the music as I was watching it, I realized why it was, and it's because they mess around with time signatures. They use unusual instruments and sounds and to emphasize certain things, but they completely mess around with time signatures in their scores. But what a soundtrack this is. It's definitely my favorite Ennio Morricone score. But this is one of Sergio Solima's best movies. Charles Bronson is amazing in this film, even though I don't like Charles Bronson as a human being. But this, he is. He's a tough son of a bitch in this movie. He really is good. He really is good in this film.
This
great film.
This film has been re-released in a special package DVD. I think it's on Arrow Films, but it might be one of the other labels.
Yes,
and it's got like a set of cinema lobby stills. There's a load of extras about the making of it and stuff like that. So I think there might even be 2 different cuts in the box set.
There are precisely that. Yeah, there's the European cut and the American cut. One of the cuts it's quite strange because obviously it's in English, and then all of a sudden everything goes into Italian, and you realize that these are the pieces that were taken from the European cut, slotted into the American cut. It doesn't feel disjointed. I do prefer watching the Italian versions of these movies.
With the same.
Subtitles. It just feels like you're watching a proper movie. I just kind of feel a little bit more engaged and a little bit more drawn into the film when there are subs and you're watching it in its original language. And of course, sometimes the subtitles are giving you more information than the dialogue is when it's in English. It kind of feels slightly stilted in English.
Yeah,
so
the finale's like the rooftop shooting thing. There's a funny story behind that, which is that sequence was shot in 3 locations. The rooftop, which he fires from, is a location in New Orleans. The exterior of the building he fires at is in San Francisco. Talk about long-range rifle. And then the interior of the elevator that they ride up, same thing, is on the set in Chinchita. So it was all edited together from 3 separate locations, which is pretty mad.
But
not too sure about this still, with this big shot of this person's shoulder.
But it's bizarre because he's actually got it's got a weapon that only carries 22 caliber rounds, and of course, all of a sudden he's loading these like 7.62 rounds into this piece of armor.
Rifle.
Yeah, it's like, what? Where did that come from? Yeah, it's bizarre, but it's it looks good.
What would you give it out of 10?
This is an easy 9. Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Yeah, I'd give it an 8. Has anyone else on the panel seen it? And if so, give it a rating, please.
No.
Is this the original to the Robert De Niro, the family, or?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a completely.
How would you rate this against Bronson's The Mechanic? That's my favorite Bronson film.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Bronson films. It's better than the Mechanic.
Really?
Yeah, it's better than The Mechanic. I mean, I've
got it's got more of an epic feel for sure.
It does. It certainly does. And yeah, I mean, the Mechanic's great. Well, that was also 73. I think this is what, 1970. I think The Mechanic was 73, 72, 73, something like that. Mechanic's a fucking great film, and he is good in that. Jan Michael Vincent's great in that movie as well.
He is.
Drew Gordon likes this film. He gives it 10 out of 10.
Yeah, nice one, Drew.
Yeah,
is it easier to find this under the American title or the original title that it is?
The original title.
Violent City.
Violent City.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get the latest release box set version by whatever means you.
Apparently the 4K transfer is one of the best that they've done. They've, rather than it being one of these where they've digitally remastered it, they've literally just cleaned everything up and put it onto 4K and done it that way. So it's kept in its original state rather than being almost reworked, if you like, almost repainted. So
well, that's Violent City, an Italian. What's the word for that, John?
Polizioteschi. It basically means police procedural.
Yeah, police procedural. Procedural spaghetti, police procedural.
Yeah.
So just after we came on air, I saw that there was a bit of sad news, and that's that we've lost, probably not a big name in America, but we lost Tony Slattery today.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, only at the age of 65.
Wow. Oh my goodness me.
So I know. For those people who don't remember, he was in such television comedies as The New Statesman. He also was in one of the seasons of Men Behaving Badly. I can't remember if he was in the original and then he got replaced by Martin Clunes, or if he was
Harry Enfield, wasn't it?
Harry Enfield, yeah.
Yeah. So, but wasn't Tony Slattery was definitely in it? He was in it. I know he was. He was in one season. Pretty sure he was.
Peter's Friends. He was in as well, was it?
Yeah, Peter's Friends. He was great in that. That's an underrated movie.
Yeah. Very underrated movie. I think it was Kenneth Branagh's first directorial debut.
No, it was the first film he did after Henry V. I know because I was on set on Henry V. That was his directorial.
It was after him. It was after
Henry. After Henry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Next film after Henry. So
that was the name of a sitcom as well, wasn't it? After Henry.
It was. You know what? I might be right. Sorry, I might be wrong. Maybe he wasn't in Men Behaving Badly because I'm not seeing it here. I thought he was, but so that was Harry Enfield that was in a season and then got switched over by Martin Clunes, was it? Just goes to show, it's funny how you can misremember things.
Yeah, I mean, but he was a very good improv comedian, wasn't he? I mean, he did. He was on a lot of the Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Whose Line Is It Anyway was his big, big thing. and I mean, there's loads of clips of him on YouTube doing that. The last show that he did on here back in 2009 is Kingdom. And that's going back a while with Stephen Fry. So, so
they were good friends.
Condolences to everyone who knew him. This is a shot of him in Peter's Friends.
Yeah, bless him. Terrific. I mean, a really terrific film. That really, really good film.
Oh yeah, The twist ending is,
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
We won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but
it's a bit of a gut punch. Let's just say.
Certainly gave me a kick in the nads. R.I.P. Rest in peace, sir.
Yeah,
just wanted to give him a shout out because we do that on here. I had one other recommendation to make for an older film. I actually watched it today deliberately. We still got time? Yeah, we do. I went back to 1987, and the reason I watched this movie was because I had a great story about this film, which I should have included in Silver Screen Journeys, but I forgot it because when I was writing the book, I was reaching for memories, and then there was a lot of memories I couldn't remember. Anyway, so Wall Street. So I was working at the cinema when Wall Street was on, and big Oliver Stone fan, as you guys know, and I really did like this movie. Very different from Platoon, of course, but powerhouse performances, particularly from Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen. It's also quite funny that Sean Young, who played Michael Douglas's wife, she basically had pretty much all of her scenes cut because she was such a nightmare on the set that Stone was just like, fuck this, and he just like cut her out of the film pretty much and got rid of her as fast as possible. And I mean, she's totally screwed her career because she was originally supposed to be the female lead in Batman. And
that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and her behavior on set, her antics, she was just like a constant argumentative diva, treated crew terribly and so on. Now, to be fair to her, it's possible there were mental health issues going on at the time that she wasn't aware of. I certainly don't want to talk down about anyone like that, but I think initially it probably started from a place of entitlement and turned into something else. And but anyway, so that's why you don't see much of her in the movie. Of course, it's a crowning glory for Michael Douglas. So before I tell you the memory I've got attached to this film, what I found particularly sort of weird when I rewatched it is the whole opening is all very much centered on these tall bastions of Wall Street power, which is the World Trade Center. And you've got long opening shots of everybody rushing to get to Wall Street to get to work, and all of the shots are all linked into the World Trade Center. And there's kind of an assumption that Sheen works in one of those buildings because of the way it's set up. The edit at the beginning, it's kind of assumed one of his offices is there. So watching that, I think it's the first time I've watched it since. No, I watched it once since 9/11 with my ex, but still, that was quite sobering. That was quite weird. So the story attached to this film is when we opened as a cinema, our main screen had gone, which was our screen that seated 600 people, and they turned that into a nightclub. And we had one new screen built that seated about 180. It was screen 3. It was the nicest, but it was still small. And I was allocated to that screen, and it was packed. It was sold out, Wall Street. And there were two couples that arrived, and the trailers had just finished. And I could see that there was no way that they could sit together. So I got on the phone and I called the projectionist. I said, I need you to hold the film until I give you a thumbs up. because he could see me. I said, I've got a seating issue, but I'm going to sort it. And I went down to the front and I just said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're looking forward to seeing Wall Street. It's a fantastic movie. Now, if you look behind you, you'll see that 2 couples have arrived and we have a bit of a situation. We have a single seat at the end of this row here. And in the same row, we have a single seat here. And then in this row here, we also have 2 single seats, but they're not together. So what I would kindly ask the ladies and gentlemen in those 2 rows to do is to move up so that we can have 2 seats together. So these lovely couples that have just arrived can sit together and watch the film together. And then as soon as we've done that, we're going to roll the movie for you. And don't worry, I'll be in the auditorium. So if anybody talks during the film, they'll be straight out and then we'll have a spare seat to play with. And these people duly complied, you know, they were so great. And I said, great, couples 1 and 2, come down, your seats are ready. Graham, roll the film. And I got this massive, massive applause. It was fantastic. And I did that a few times. But that was the one time where the audience really you know, because they knew I was trying to do a good thing, you know, so they were all up for it. It was quite fun. If you did that in a cinema today, you'd probably get shot.
Yeah, I would not recommend you have done that in America under any decade, but I mean, yeah.
No. It was, yeah, well, yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from there. But British people, you know, they can be quite nice about that sort of thing if approached in the right way. And I'd worked there a long time. I think I'm sure quite a few people in that auditorium have probably met me before. So there you go. That's my story for Wall Street. The film is still really good, still holds up well. I really like John C. McGinley because he was in Platoon as well. Stone recast him in this. Love him as an actor. I'm trying to get him on the channel.
Oh man, I love John C. McGinley.
He's so good. Yeah, and then you got John C. Reilly, of course, who we just saw in Magnolia, who I'm also a massive fan of. Either of them, I would love to get on. But yeah, I'll give this a 9 out of 10. It's actually because of everything that's happened since. I feel the messages in this film about greed and waste and money and
insider trading
and all that. Yeah, all of those messages are even more powerful now than they were then. And I think also, you know, Wall Street was a bit of an elusive world to the average cinema goer. This was the film that educated them on it. Now you watch it after all this time, you know exactly what's happening in every scene. You don't need an education. So yeah, great. I recommend it. 9 out of 10. Anyone else want to rate it quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I'd definitely give it a 9 out of 10. You know, I really don't like movies of the 80s. but
it's funny how you keep recommending them, but yeah, continue.
But you know, this is one of those few movies that I do like because it's kind of a child of its period. I like the movies that that show me something about the period rather than you know, date from the period, if you know what I mean. This really is somewhat educational, if you like, although you know it is and it isn't, but because it's a you know, piece of fiction, but there is a truth to it rather than a reality. You know, nothing in it is real, but there is a truth to what the characters are doing and their machinations, if you like. Yeah, I like it a lot. And I kind of mourn the loss of the Oliver Stone that we used to have, really.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. What was the last film that Oliver Stone directed?
Last good
He
one.
didn't do that. What was it? That Reagan movie, was it?
I don't know.
Did he do the Reagan movie?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I haven't seen that film yet.
Yeah, because Reagan did do a bunch of drugs in that movie, so that's why I don't think it was Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone's last movie was something called Lula, and then Nuclear Now, and then JFK Destiny Betrayed. So a bunch of miniseries and documentaries and.
Oh yeah, he
Putin
did know. He
interviews.
did a good documentary on JFK, like
his-
going back with all the known facts. Now that was good. I like that.
It looks like his last actual movie was Snowden.
Yeah, that was good. That was really good.
Oh, was it? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite liked that. I thought that was pretty good.
To watch that.
Yeah, I didn't like the look of it, to be honest with you. I thought, I kind of thought it was, it looked to me like it was Oliver Stone trying to be the person that he used to be.
Well, you can come back next week and tell us all what you think of it. And
I will actually. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that.
Good man.
Yeah, Snowden.
I love Wall Street. It makes me hungry for steak tartare.
Oh, that shot with the egg on top.
I want to eat it.
Yeah.
It's good.
And that's like the biggest steak tartare you've ever seen. That shot.
I love steak tartare.
Wall Street was so iconic in the 80s. I was a young kid in the 80s, but man, Wall Street was so Wall Street was like showing up in TV sitcoms. They had like a TV sitcom called Day by Day, and the guy that plays Greg Brady in the Brady Bunch like spoof movies, he's on the thing, and his parents are former stockbrokers, and he befriends their stockbroker friend and like turns into a clone of Michael Douglas in that film and does the whole, or at least part of the speech. I think it's Michael Douglas's best film. I think it's his best role that he's ever done, if I'm being honest.
Good movie.
Yeah. I love the cameo in Hot Shots Part 2.
I loved you in Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Martin Sheen tries to say, I love you in Wall Street.
Yeah. Who saw the sequel?
I did.
Oh God. I forgot.
I saw a little bit. I couldn't finish
Shia LaBeouf, just basically
Money Never Sleeps, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best scenes are all in the trailer. All the best scenes are in the trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, the best scenes are the scenes with Michael Douglas, basically.
Well, yeah.
I just sort of thought, like, I don't know. I mean, like, first of all, when I heard it was coming out, I thought, it could be interesting. Then I saw Shia LaBeouf was in it, and I was like, don't know.
Oh, he's a good actor.
He is a good actor, but he can. But he's a good actor. But I feel sometimes he can poison a project.
Well, this was the 2010s before. This was while he was still Transformers. Shia LaBeouf. This is before he did his kind of renaissance with Fury and Peanut Butter Falcon and stuff like that. So this was the early, well, not the really early because he was a Disney kid, but like this was the Transformers era Shia LaBeouf. Like later and since then, I understand what you're saying, but I give him a lot of latitude just because Fury is one of my favorite war movies and he's so good in it. So
I do like. I do like Fury, apart from the last 10 minutes where it turns into the A-Team. But 20 guys with Panzerfaust can't take out one tank. Come on, man.
I don't think I can be on the show anymore.
Yeah, we actually shot that. We shot that in exactly the same location as Masters of the Air, by the way. With the camp.
I know
and
you
Warhorse as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Josh Brolin's pretty good in it. Josh Brolin has an interesting role in it as well. I mean, it's okay
in Wall Street. Yeah. I think the issue I had with this was great cast, some good scenes, but within a week I had completely forgotten I'd even seen it.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Just very, very forgettable,
It is.
And clearly somebody liked the architecture because they put a lot of pictures of, downtown Manhattan on. But yeah, I just, I don't know. It just sort of, after I came out, I thought, because I remember what we did was, this is the last time I rewatched Wall Street. Alison and I watched that first because she hadn't seen it. And then we went to see this at the cinema the same day. And we both sort of went, yeah, we didn't really need that sequel, did we? So, yeah, but I give it like a 6 out of 10, and that's mainly for the acting.
Yeah, it's like the second one was trying to redeem Gordon Gekko. No, we didn't. We don't want to see Gordon Gekko redeem.
Yeah,
because of what a slam ball he was.
He's not. I don't know. I don't understand Hollywood's obsession with that. With Enzo said this in a earlier today, and I think he said it on his show the other night. It's like, why do we have to make all of these villains redeemable in some way? Why is that necessary?
It's almost like the correction of a mistake. It's like, we are correcting the mistake of these people. These people were mistakes, so we're going to correct those.
Right.
I think, come on.
I don't need an origin story to Hannibal Lecter to make me like him.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Why do we need to go back to beyond what we know? I mean, there was one thing that I think it was John W. Campbell had said, and it was advice that he gave to Isaac Asimov after I think he'd got Asimov to write some stories for the Amazing Stories magazine, and Asimov was having some trouble, and he said, look, you have to know where to start your story. He said, that's why I chopped off 3 chapters of Who Goes There before I decided to make that my story. And you don't need to go back to that. You don't need to show anybody what is, prior to that point at which you start the story. That your beginning is your beginning. You don't need to show anything prior to that. But also, I just find it really irritating that we can't be left with an open-ended movie anymore. We have to have a sequel. There has to be something that sets something up.
Right.
I much prefer to be left with a movie where I make my own ending. I draw my own conclusions. I have my own sequel in my head. I don't need somebody to tell me what that sequel is. My sequel is within me, and it should be within every other person who is viewing that movie. We should have our own versions of what we believe is going to be the next step for those characters, and it doesn't matter whether any of them tally up, whether they match up with anybody else's, whether they're in lockstep with anybody else's. What matters is that we have drawn our own conclusions, and because of that creates the discussion point. But once we have a sequel that gives us what's considered to be the definitive ending, that's it. It's game over. We stop talking about those movies now.
Yeah.
Those, we don't have to talk about what the conclusion is. We've just been served it up.
There's a reason why some of the best films have neither a sequel nor a prequel. Like No Country for Old Men. Yep. I don't need the origin story of Anton Chigurh. I don't need to know that.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
it's the mystery of the character that makes
the mystery. The mystery of it, exactly. I want mystery. I want that mystery.
Yeah, you don't always want all the answers.
No, but we can. We can provide our own answers, and if they, if they are the same as somebody else's, that's who cares? If they're not the same as somebody else's answers, who cares? It creates a point of discussion. That's why we discuss movies, certain movies. Because we've what do you think happened? After that, well, I think X, Y, and Z. Well, no, I think A, B, and C. Why do you think that? That's give us something to talk about, for Christ's sake. Don't just end something and say that's that.
Yeah.
It's an insult to our intelligence as an audience.
Yeah, I agree. Well, on that note, we need to inform Northern that your Uber has arrived.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, here it comes. Oh, is that not one of the best theme tunes ever?
Oh, God. I've never watched the Copley all the way through. God, it is a great show. I love it.
Do you know what? Right, my parents
Get your pants
knew.
on, son. You're nicked.
My parents knew as soon as they put that program on and that title rolled, within 5 seconds they would hear these footsteps, and I would be looking through the crack in the door like, oh, you know, something exciting's on. The Professionals was much better, lots more guns and action, and but you know.
Was really funny. I mean, I used to watch this as a kid, right? And then we moved abroad as a family. We moved abroad, and we used to we didn't get television in South Africa until 1976. That was the first TV station, SABC, and we used to get we used to have 1 day of Afrikaans television, and the next day was English television. So it would be 1 day in Afrikaans, 1 day in English, and then on Sundays it would be half and half. So Mondays we would have the Sweeney in Afrikaans, all dubbed into Afrikaans, and it was really strange. I mean, it was called obviously it wasn't called the Sweeney, it was called Blitzpatrollie, which means lightning patrol, and we had Thunderbirds in Afrikaans as well. Which was called Redding Internationaal, which is basically international rescue. And but obviously you could quite easily lip sync the dialogue with the Thunderbirds puppets slightly better than you could with Jack Regan and George Carter in the Sweeney. But it was hilarious watching it. But we already knew the episodes, no subtitles or anything like that, and because we could speak Afrikaans anyway, it was quite easy to watch for us to watch. But
I dread to think what some of the translations were for those shows in that era.
But there was the funny thing was the only time it actually dropped out into English was there was an episode where George and Jack were pissed up in a pub, and they were singing a couple of sort of bawdy songs or something, and it might have been something like Maybe It's Because I'm a Londoner, and a few other bits and pieces where they're really absolutely off their tits. That was the only time where it lapsed into, or they dropped it out into English.
I was thinking more of Thunderbirds. Do you remember? I think it was episode 4 or 5. It's called Pyramid of Peril.
Yes, I remember it. Yeah,
Thunderbird 2 gets shot down by these kind of like Middle Eastern bad guys, and I can imagine the dialogue in that. This is Virgil, Thunderbird 2. I'm being attacked by a load of Kafirs. I'm being attacked by Kafir fighters attacking me. And then later in the pyramid, this pyramid is infested with Kafirs, man. They're stealing the treasure. I can just like, oh god.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was quite funny.
You need to get one of these episodes for us and see if we
I'm sure they must be. I'm absolutely positive they must be on YouTube somewhere. But I just remember having arguments with these Afrikaans kids at school and telling them, this is an English program. It's not. This isn't Afrikaans. And they're like, no, you're talking rubbish, man. You're talking rubbish.
Thunderbirds are based in Johannesburg, man.
Joburg,
the island is just off the coast.
Can't you see that in Soweto right now? It's just like unbelievable. Yeah,
we can keep going with this all night.
They're going over to Robbing Island right now. They're in Cape Town. Yeah, just
Thunderbird 1 comes out of Mandela's cell, man.
But it was it was it was great watching these shows, these great British shows and American shows. I mean, obviously we had the Brady Bunch as well, which was
oh my god, I just can't even
the Brady Bunch in Afrikaans, superb. Yeah,
because there's this episode of the Brady Bunch about racism. I remember it. But that episode probably wasn't. That episode probably wasn't streamed.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been aired. Yeah, I mean, it was strange. I mean, I had like posters on my wall in my bedroom. I had Bruce Lee, a couple of posters of Bruce Lee, and one of Richard Roundtree of Shaft. Right, because I mean that's how far back my sort of love of blaxploitation movie goes. So I had this movie poster of Shaft, and we had these. I mean, it sounds awful now, but we had these maids. So we had 3 maids, and
Yeah, you did.
and there's a story I'd like to tell you at some point. But
Hang around after the show.
But of course they one of them was a Sutu, one of them was a Zulu, and one of them was a tribe called Xhosa, right? And they all wanted this poster of Richard Roundtree, and there was a favorite of mine. One of the maids was a favorite of mine, and who I really liked. And
we'll continue this story later on the late night with Lance adult stream. Fantastic. Okay, good. We'll end that there. So we're coming up to midnight. We're going to wrap it up. If anybody wants to give anything a quick mention that we haven't covered, please do. Northern, was there anything else? I know you wanted to talk about Outlander. Maybe we want to cover that next week.
We could do that next week.
Quite a big topic. I've got a number of friends in that show over the years, so it's funny. I watched the first 5 episodes and I just couldn't get into it.
I was talking about Outlander with Sean Connery, the sci-fi film.
Not the TV. Not the TV. You're talking about Outlander.
Amazing. Outlander.
You said Outlander.
You did say Outlander. Yeah, Outland. Yeah.
You said Outlander.
Good movie.
Yeah,
Outlander's a great film
as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, that deserves a longer discussion, so we'll hold that one over for next Tuesday.
I'm actually going to rewatch that as well. I'm going to rewatch that. Cheers for that, Luke. Thanks, mate. I'm going to rewatch that.
Yeah, High Noon in outer space. It's a great movie.
It's great choice.
Yeah, it kind of like crime noir as well in space at times.
Great choice.
So Tox, we have you're going to be coming on the channel to talk about your book, and I think that Toxic has got a book out.
No,
mate, I think that's going to be happening this Saturday, 8 p.m. UK time. Can you do that?
Yeah. What time is that in America? Do you know?
3 p.m. East Coast.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
So what I need from you is a little biography, the relevant links. Send them over to me in an email, and your preferred photo, which Enzo's then going to have fun drawing noses on and that kind of thing.
Lovely.
Excellent. Very good. All right. So I'll make sure I think you've got my email already, but I'll put it in the private chat. All right. Fabulous. Yes. So Saturday at 8 o'clock. I'm going to be doing an industry interview with 2 authors. So it's another episode of Meet the Authors. We've got Douglas A. Burton coming on, who mainly kind of writes sci-fi fantasy with a lot of female leads. And we've Toxic coming on to do his definitely not autobiographical police thriller noir.
Definitely not. Definitely
not.
Yes. Yeah. Fictitious.
The gay prison scene, very fictional.
Totally fictional. Yeah.
Totally fictional. Yeah. So every drop of it is fictional. Okay. So great. So it'd be good to get you on. Be good to plug your book. Stupenzio, what have we got coming up?
Tomorrow, full-length commentary for the movie Cannibal the Musical. Obviously, we weren't very funny for it. We just kind of, it's because Blue Collar hadn't seen it, and Eclectic Goat joined us, and she hadn't seen it either. So it was more like,
is that the one by Trey Parker? And
we're gonna watch that. Yeah. I think we're sticking with the winter, Christmassy kind of weird movies for January. That's a great movie for this hellish weather. So. That we're hearing. So it's fun. So that'll be fun tomorrow. It's going to be a chill we watch. But I got some good stuff planned for after that. And then, of course, the usual Sunday night Maybe Sunday.
I thought you said we were doing a
Monday
Sunday
night,
dinner.
Monday during the due day. One of those days, one of those times.
Okay.
Mondays we do the dork side, or I might do a couple Stupenzo casts too. I'm gonna start trying the OBS Streamlabs thing soon. Get rid of StreamYard.
Don't forget, on Sundays at 8 o'clock, we are going to be continuing our breakdown of The Shield, Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4 will be this Sunday. Quite an in-depth look at the show. Myself, Inside Man, Toxic, and I believe Northern Bastard, if he's available, will be there.
Should be available for that.
So we'll be covering that. There is also going to be a special episode of Chew the Fat, where we're going to be discussing a feature film that was released in the 1970s. I'm going to get a copyright flag for this, but why don't we see the trailer?
Cool, look at that. Shouldn't be allowed. But there's another one, look.
Why don't you belt up? I am a member of Scotland Yard's famous flying squad.
This is Detective Sergeant.
We'll be covering that. Me and the Inside Man will be doing a breakdown of the Sweeney 2 feature film. This will be happening.
This is the one. It's the Sweeney 2 with that's the one with Morecambe and Wise in, isn't it? One of them has got Morecambe and Wise. I'm sure it's Sweeney 2.
No, they're in the first one, I think.
It's the first one, right?
Yeah, brief shot.
Get your pants on, son. You're next.
Yeah. So, but that line I think is in Sweeney 2. Funny enough. I think although the line in that scene might be, "You sure she's not underage, mate?" Something like that. Anyway, so we'll be going back and looking at that film. It's a film with many flaws, but it's got some good things as well. So we'll be getting into it. And I have the Blu-ray. So Inside Man, if you need to come around and watch it, let me know.
When is this one for?
Well, I'm going to check in with you, and we'll do it in January.
Right.
So
okay, mate.
It'll be this month.
100%.
We'll probably have to do it
100%.
on either a Friday night or Saturday night, I think.
Bingo.
So,
yeah, no, it's fine. That's fine by me, mate. Absolutely. Whenever you say.
All right, wicked. I just don't want to clash with anything Northern's got running, so we'll figure it out. Okay, so that's it for tonight. And as you can hear, I'm a bit wheezy, so time for us to wrap it up. Thank you for all the people that have come on. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you to my panel. Don't forget what I always say. Check in on people, especially around this time of year. A bit depressing after Christmas. Make sure they're okay. If their voice sounds like mine, buy them a load of hot honey, lemon and ginger and get it round to their house. Pronto.